Welcome to Panfish Nation. My name is Mark, co-host of the Great Lyle Stokes.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm trying to get over a 4th of July weekend. Did you have a good weekend on the 4th?
Yeah, it was okay.
I ate way too much.
I always eat too much, seems like.
Way too much. I had I don't know if you're familiar, but there's that guy Anthony Bourdain who is no longer with us. He made a sandwich famous that was his favorite, which was kind of like a grilled mortadella. It's pretty darn good. Had one of them on Friday night at my buddy's restaurant. He made it for me. It was very tasty. And then we had people over on Saturday, cooked a bunch of barbecue, and Sunday took my mom out to dinner. So enough for rich food. I'm on like rich food detox right now.
I haven't heard of that before, but that sounds interesting.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's the older I get, the more I need to watch what I'm eating. I feel like crap sometimes. It's ridiculous.
Well, there was times before, not recently, but times before when I would eat so much that I would just be miserable, and I don't do that anymore.
That's a good thing. You got to watch yourself.
Yeah, I lost a bunch of weight. I don't feel any different. I don't know. I doubt if I look any different, but I just don't.
Well, you're looking good, bud. I gained some weight, so I'm going to send you an emoji after the show because I'm.
I look forward to that.
Long story. I'd like to lose a few pounds, get that weight off of my knees because they've really been bothering me lately, and age doesn't help. So it is what it is. I still try to make fish. And I did go live today for about half an hour, and my phone overheated. It was 90 degrees out. I was kind of doing a pond mission that I was taking people with to go find some bullheads. And I went to the first spot and nothing. I got a couple of ticks, but I think those are bluegills. And by the time we got to the second spot, my phone had given up the ghost even before I got out of the truck. So
what kind is that?
It's a Galaxy.
It's an iPhone.
Look, you don't believe me? Here, hold on. Let me show it to you. Look at this Galaxy.
I don't think.
It's a Galaxy.
They can put men on the moon, but they can't keep a phone from overheating when you're out going live.
Well, it.
You know what I mean?
Well, if you consider everything that phone is doing, you kind of understand. I'm trying to get my camera centered here. Everything it has to do, I mean, in the palm of your hand, you got a computer that used to take up a whole classroom back at a college when they first started out. So, I mean, it is what it is. It does a lot, and it gets that hot, and it does it on just a 2-hour charge on a battery. It's pretty incredible. So, one of the biggest problems they had with computing early in the days was being able to run stuff without having big fans or whatever. And there is no fan on a phone. So it is what it is. We're supposed to have flying cars, but
I'm shocked that we don't. Our old buddy Josh, the Weekend Angler, has a video of keeping your phones cool. It was a year or two ago when he put that out, but it actually is pretty well done. So if anybody's having those issues, they might run over and look. There's other videos out. I seen one some time back where a guy mounted I'm trying to think what it was, but he was going to cool water through it, circulating water that kept it cool, and that was pretty good one too. But I don't remember who that was.
I mean, they sell these little fans you clip on the back of your phone for people that game a lot, that cool off their phones. I think they make too much noise when you're streaming, so I never bothered even to try it.
I guess you could put an ice pack on there, but hell, they wouldn't last.
I've done that on my boat before. I've gotten those smaller sized ice packs, and I'd have a bunch of them in my cooler, and I'd like bungee cord it to just to the back of my phone and not cover up the camera, and that would work really good when I was out on the boat. But I didn't do that today. I'm still a novice at this live streaming onto your phone stuff, so I haven't done it enough.
Right. Danny Stone says, I want it noted that I was here on time. Thank you. Well, all righty then.
Danny, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
So very true.
What do you say? We say hello to some people in chat
Let's
here.
do that.
All right, we got Miss Cindy Stokes. How you doing, Cindy? Hopefully you're good. Danny Stone Outdoors. What's up, Danny? There's Rhonda over at Fishing for Whiskers. There's good old Gabe. How you doing, Gabe? What's going on? Greg Burgess, Joe Buck 66, who's a channel supporter. Thank you for your support, Joe. We appreciate you. My buddy Lance Makugaya, the Hawaiian fisherman. Mean Gene Squad, what's going on, Mean Gene? And Schmieder of the Cedars, welcome everybody. There's a bunch more people watching, just they're not in there chatting. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in. So before we start, well, I just want to mention that our buddy Tim Molina could use everybody's prayers. I'm not going to share what's going on, but he's definitely got some medical problems. So keep him in your prayers. I talked to him today this afternoon. So I'm sure he'd appreciate it. He's going in for some surgery on Friday. That's about all I'm going to say. So let's hope that goes swimmingly for our friend.
And what a great guy Tim is. I mean, he's been following a lot of the shows that goes on weekly for years, and he's a great guy to have on your team when you're doing things and stuff. So please keep Tim in your thoughts and prayers.
And keep praying for the folks in Texas too, man. They're as time goes on, it looks like it's getting worse and worse. So there's going to be that's a mess. I've seen some video from that with some of that flash flooding going on. That was as scary as it gets.
Yeah, they don't get much flash flooding down there.
Well, they do. I was talking to somebody, and I guess 40 years ago, almost to the day, they had that kind of flooding over there too. So, I mean, that 100-year flood. Now, I was talking about our place on the Tippecanoe, wherever we flooded out like 6 times, and every time it'd be like a foot and a half of water in there. But the last time there was 10 feet of water above. It was like 4 feet above roof level, so it was closer to 12 feet, and that was more damage than we were willing to fix, so we had to let that place go. But a flood is no joke. Mother Nature does some damage, and it really, really hurts people. So
yeah, Mother Nature's a fickle bitch, I'll tell you right now.
Look at that. There's Chad. Oh no, I mean Josh. What's up, Josh? I'm pretty sure that Gabe was Chad earlier too.
I wouldn't surprise me at all.
Look at wait. I wanted to highlight this one here. Look at that. Buggy's having barbecue ribs tonight, Buggy. Nice. I had leftover pulled pork. It was delicious. Actually, I had pulled pork tacos. Good stuff.
I had chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup on a 95-degree day.
Homemade right out of the Campbell's can.
You know, when I was a young man, we used to go to a place called White Castle. You ever hear White Castle, Lyle?
I love Whitey's.
Well, we'd go into White Castle kind of under the influence. That's all I'm going to say at times.
I gotcha.
And there'd be old people like us in there eating White Castles and washing it down with coffee. That's what having chicken soup on a day like today reminds me of, Lyle.
Well, I like soup year round, so it doesn't really matter, and it don't really matter what kind it is. I just like it. It's good, and it's fast and easy, and I'm all about that. So
I like fast and easy. Bugman says, "Oh, the campgrounds the campground one is just so tragic. Families sleeping in campers swept away. Yeah, that was a horrible one.
Yeah,
that was bad. Wildlife problems there too. We don't want to talk about all of that. And
no,
other people got damaged, but it's something you got to notice as well.
Yep. You you didn't get any bullheads today?
You know what, Lyle? I fished that one spot. Okay, now this was the plan. All of these spots that I had planned to go fish, I I fish for bluegill and green sunfish and I catch those all the time. Every now and then I'd catch a real big bullhead, right? And where there's one bullhead, there's more bullheads.
Yeah.
Always the case. So my idea today was to target solely bullheads at these spots by, fishing both the bottom, using either, I was using little chunks of shrimp, which was good because the bluegill weren't bothering it too much.
Right.
Or catch a bluegill and cut it up in a cut bait. My best luck with bullheads in a couple of places that I got to drive to catch bullheads have always been on cut bait, like small little tiny squares of cut bait on little jig heads. That always works really well. So that was the plan today. So I went to the first spot, and it bluebird skies, barometric pressure is real high. So they were probably out in the middle where I couldn't even cast to them. There's no shade in the first spot that I was fishing at. There were no trees hanging over the water. So I didn't expect much, which is why I started there. I figured, hey, as a live streamer, we start at the least probability and hopefully at the best probability at the end. We're going to, save the show. But my phone overheated. I was at the other place. I wasn't feeling real well because of the heat. It was bad. I just didn't feel myself. So I just head home, drank a bunch of water, and here we are. So.
Yep. I understand. Greg Burgess says, Mark, we eat gumbo even if it's 100 degrees. I can relate.
How you doing, Lisa? What's going on? What's going on, Greg? How you doing? That's too hot for me. I can't do that. I don't eat. Soup is like ladies with white shoes. No soup between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Can't have it.
Oh no,
can't have it.
I eat it year round. I love soup, and I'm not a big cold food person. So, what's hotter than hot soup?
That's lava sometimes, though. The only exception is chili on my hot dogs. I'll have a chili dog.
Yeah, I probably would do that more than once and more than one.
Wow, we got Portillo's here. They got jumbo chili cheese dogs. My goodness, they are good.
I don't want no cheese on my dog. I want no cheese on it. I take some sauerkraut, mustard, chili. I don't want no
you don't
cheese.
like cheese on your chili?
No.
Wow.
Nope.
That's as un-American as it gets.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but no, I don't want any of that stuff on there. Don't want any of that stuff on. No cheese on that. Now you can put it on the side, and I'll eat it with it, but not in it.
Not even. Well, no, this is on it. Well, whatever. I'm not going to get in this with you. You eat soup in the summer, so there you go.
That's right. There you go. And fried fish sometimes.
Oh, I'm telling you, I got some catfish fillet. Well, I got pictures, some that you sent me. We're going to share all them out, Lyle. I'm sure the boys will love to see those.
Well, one of them I'm not too proud of, but, you got to catch a trash fish every now and again.
You do.
I caught. I put one jig on, and it was one that looked just like this.
Let me give you a solo layout here. Purple and white. Look at that.
Purple and white with a black head. One jig head, 35 bluegill, 2 bass, 1 channel cat in just over 2 hours.
There you go. That's a good day.
It was pretty good. Yeah, before it got hot, and I brought a few of them home to keep for bait, and the aerator quit in my live well. Didn't lose any, but I just took them down to the creek and dumped them out so they'd survive. I even took the aerator that's been on my boat for probably, I don't know how many years, and it quit too. It wouldn't even come on. So, it is what it is. I had the Engel cooler and not the Frabill, because it has 2 aerators on it.
2 aerators on there. If for that angle that you got, what you want to do is get one of those lithium battery rechargeable aerators. If you're not going to buy a whole new one with the stuff built in, which I don't see why you would do, just get one of them rechargeable ones. They work really well. They got them all over the place now. They got a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to go in the one that'll go in the original spot. pardon me, I don't want it to be put up somewhere else. Have to remount it or anything. I just want to use the original.
Well, that angle one just hangs off the side, if I remember correctly.
Angles do hang right off the side on the end.
On the end, yeah. One of those rechargeable ones, it'll work for you as long as it's got the clip on there. That'll definitely work. What's going on, Benoit ladies? How you doing? Benoit Fishing Outdoors has joined us. 922 Crappie Barbecue. How you doing? I think he just called us ladies.
Really?
I think he did.
I surely was talking to Abby and Gallison.
There's our buddy SK Crappie.
Hey, SK, how you doing, man?
SK's down in Texas, so I'm sure he those floods really hit close to home.
Down at Houston.
And so we're all praying for everybody down there, SK, just so you know.
Absolutely.
Here's our buddy John from Small Water Charters. I don't know if you saw the short or the video on his channel. I'll have to send you a link if you haven't. He redid his boat in his colors, green and yellow, and I gave him a hard time talking.
Really?
And being a Packer fan, but he did a really good job. He busted his. Well, they're Packer colors, and I'm a Chicago kid, and we don't like the Packers. But anyways, that's another story. He did
a baseball team?
No, football. Green Bay Packers. When you see the stadium, they're all wearing cheese on their head and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I never did get into that too much. But what are you gonna do? I mean, everybody's got to be something. So somebody might as well be a Packers fan.
Somebody's got to be, but he's not. It just matches his color, so I want to throw that in there. But he did a hell of a job on his boat. It looks really clean. It looks really good. At least in the pictures, it does. He might have used filters, I don't know, to cover up his shabby work, but it doesn't appear to be that way.
He probably didn't. He probably had
look, good stuff. You could tell it upsets him every time I say that. It says matches our logo. Duh. So if you want to get under John's skin, just call him a Packers fan and see what he says. Catfish Cowboy in the house. What's going on, Cowboy? How you doing? Dustin, I think somebody said hello to Dustin. Dustin, if we missed you, bud, welcome to the show. Let's talking about a different Dustin. Oh, maybe Catfish Cowboy's name is Dustin. You'll have to forgive me.
Could be.
I'm going to use the old card. I'm old. You have to forgive me.
Well,
I trimmed the goatee, Lyle, to look more like you, but
I see that.
I showed him a picture of you at the barber shop and said, make me this good looking.
Oh my God. Don't even start. Don't even start.
It's my summer look. I just like to keep it short, so it's a wash and go kind of thing. That's the advantage of being bald. There's our buddy Quiet Man Curtis. How you doing, Curtis? What's up, buddy?
I tell you, you really got to be careful if you lose hair on your head when it's hot and sunny and bright like it is. You can get a burn, and there's not much any more painful than that is.
It's not just that. It's not just the burn. I get burned pretty bad on my head, and like we're talking burns and it'll bleed. I'm not even kidding.
I understand.
So you want to use sunscreen. I got the spray on type that works really good. I worked in the petroleum business. I wanted you to read that before I took it off the screen. That's from your buddy Curtis. He said, how about them Pittsburgh Pirates last week?
What Pirates?
I don't know. Did you say Bud Pirates?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I did not.
I worked, like I was started to say, I worked in the petroleum business for a long time, so I was covered in oil most of the day, every day. So even lotion kind of I don't like. So putting sunscreen on rough, but I forced myself to do it. So
I understand. Yeah.
Danny says he's shedding skin like a snake from the sunburn he got in Mississippi last week.
I bet he is too. I bet he is. This sun has really been really strong, and you just people need to make sure that they use sunscreen. You don't want skin cancer or any of that stuff. It's just a bad situation, and try to take care of yourself. And if you're fair skinned and get the what is it, PF 70, 50, 70, whatever it is used for babies, that will help you a great deal.
My wife likes to smear that. She's got a bottle of SPF 100. I don't know where she got that from.
I never even heard of 100
I'm
before.
guessing she got it from like DuPont or something like that. I have no idea. It comes in this big blue bottle, but it looks like, it could be, I don't know, but it looks like she whitewashed my head whenever she puts it on me. It looks pretty funny.
It beats getting burnt.
And I don't know if this mesh hats, they're the worst too.
They will burn right through them.
You'll have a nice checkerboard pattern
on
your head.
Right. That's exactly right. So yeah, there's advantages and disadvantages to all that stuff. But hey, Paul Boyd, welcome, buddy. Glad to see you in here.
Now this is funny right here. Danny Stone says SPF 100 is house paint, Mark. You might be right.
Oh man, yeah, I never heard of that before, but that worked. Hey, if it keep you from getting burned, I'm all over. On Catfish Weekly, we had Mark with Big Water Adventures on as a guest one time a few years ago, and he's a big deal with skin cancer and being in the sun all the time. Of course, he does videos and makes TV shows for the Outdoor Channel or one of them, and him and I become pretty close for several years, but he's had skin cancer from being in the sun. So he was a great guest, and he can enlighten you, and he'll tell you straight up you need to go to a skin doctor specialist and be checked at least once a year. Twice is better.
Probably a good idea. My wife says I got a spot right here on my nose that I need to go get checked out, but we'll see. I'll talk to the doctor that next time I go. I'm kind of mad at doctors right now, but we're not going to get into that here.
Oh, yeah. I have a new doctor, and I'm very happy with him so far. He's he kind of does what I want, which is exactly the kind of doctor I want. I don't want to hear no crap out of you about what I should and shouldn't do. And if I tell you I want something, then I want it. Don't give me no crap about nothing else. Just do what I say. That's the kind of doctors I like.
My doctor's pretty much the same way, but it's something else. We'll talk later. I don't want to give the man a hard time in public here. Lance McCouga says, I can't use sunscreen. I'll burn. I don't understand it, but I believe it. So Lyle, today's topic, everything ponds, finding and fishing ponds. Do you fish a lot of ponds, or you don't have to out there in the great state of Missouri?
No, I used to years ago, but you need to define pond to start with, because in Texas they don't call them ponds, they call them tanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I enjoy fishing ponds. Most ponds, retention ponds and things like that, they put in subdivisions when they build new houses, or alongside the road when they're digging up and using the dirt to make overpasses and different things like that. Fly, you better get out of here. I got a fly swatter right here. Those are usually never stocked, but they always have bluegill and bullhead and stuff like that. They're great places to fish, and for the most part, they're not heavily fished. So if you can find a place where they have a new subdivision, in a few years, it'll probably be pretty good. You can probably go in there and catch some bullhead, bluegill, and especially bluegill. Bluegill seems like they just pop up wherever there's water.
Well, here I believe in my county, McHenry County, I believe that they have to stock any ponds they install in these newer subdivisions.
Really?
For mosquito control.
Well, I never heard of that.
If the ponds aren't stocked, they have no fish. They just turn into the mosquito breeding grounds. Well, so they keep them all pretty much stocked from the very beginning. What I consider a pond is anything from a bigger than a ditch, right? A drainage ditch, to 4 to 6 acres, as long as it doesn't have a boat ramp or a dock. I would consider that what I fish. When I say ponds, that's what I'm fishing.
Here in Missouri, these people build them a house and they put a 2-acre lake in. Well, 2 acres is a pond.
pond. It is a pond.
I mean, it just is. It's a pond. And they call them lakes because they want their own private lake. That's good. I don't care what you call it. If it's a small body of water and there's fish in it and you catch them in there, that's great. Oh, man, West Texas, that's all I ever heard. They make fun of you down there if you don't call them tanks.
I've had a few Texans tell me they were tanks. They weren't ponds. They're like, what are you talking about, ponds?
Yeah, they don't even know what you're talking about.
But, you know, we have them all over here. I was going to bring up Google Maps in my area, but I kind of don't want to like show some of my better ponds off, at least on a map. Today I went driving around through neighborhoods and I drove by a couple of really, really good productive ponds that I fish at that I kind of second thought, and I deleted the stream after the fact just because of that. There's always somebody watching.
I can call
I don't want them overrun. If you want to go pond fishing with me and you know me and you live in the area, just ask me. I'll take you. I don't need to announce to the people that don't want to come over and fish with me. So that's just kind of the way
I can call Betty. She'll give me the coordinates.
Actually, we drove by that pond. That was going to be on one of my stops without having to say something, but I've live streamed from there without saying anything in the past. So, and we're going to keep it that going to keep it that way. So yeah, like I was saying, we got one here called Public Works, which is, you know, that it's kind of famous, but I think it's almost 6 acres. There's no boat ramp on there. It's all pretty much the same depth all the way across, which surprisingly makes it really, really, really hard to fish unless you're out there on the ice. But it still produces good. You know, there's a point, there's a little creek that feeds it. There's an exit of this pond, but I went and fished there once. Didn't do real well, except for I came home covered in ticks. I didn't want to do that, so I don't fish that area too much anymore. A lot of these other ones were I don't know, maybe 30 years old. We've been in this house 30 years, so a lot of the ponds I fish are right around that age. So that's enough time for them to produce some decent sized fish. Some of them that I've fished for a while have really decent sized bluegill, and I'm going to take credit for that because I take them for bait. I take a lot for bait. And the ones that I don't, let's say there's a pond that I have never fished, I'll go there and everything, all the fish are stunted. So everything from like 1/4 ounce bass to like 3 or 4 inch bluegill, because nobody keeps any fish out of these, which is fine. That those ponds are there for drainage, and the fish are in there to eat mosquitoes, and them little fish eat plenty of mosquitoes. So
there's a thing that ponds can be overstocked and not eat. There are times when fish need to be harvested.
Mm-hmm.
Or you need to put something in there to help keep the population down, like a flathead. But if you're not careful, you'll end up with no fish with them because they'll eat them all.
Well, I don't know. I would think that a flathead, I mean, some of these ponds are so overrun with like little tiny stunted crappie like this big.
And they can't get any bigger because all the food's been depleted.
Yep, and it's cyclical too, because they'll go through the bait so fast that they'll die. They'll end up dying off after a while because they're starved to death in those.
Right.
Not just because they're small don't mean that they don't need to eat. They still need to eat, and they'll go through all those minnows in no time. There's got to be a definite balance of the whole deal. So, and that's one of the things I look for when I'm looking for ponds. In the mornings when I'm out driving, if I'm driving by a pond and I'm not seeing something feeding on bugs on the top on a calm day, you know, when there's no wind or anything, I don't even bother. That pond's kind of dead to me. You know, that's like the first telltale sign of good fish in a pond. Let's see what SK has to say. It says, we call them both ponds and tanks in my part of Texas. So some good giants in there, he says.
Yep.
Tall water tanks, basically water for the cattle. I think that's why they call them tanks, because a lot of ranchers put them in on their farms, and that's exactly what they're for.
I think that's how it probably started, but
water livestock. So But yeah, you definitely don't want to live next to a place that doesn't have fish in it. You know, if they got a pond there and they don't put any fish in, you're going to pay for it dearly in the summer with bugs and stuff. So, and a lot of the ponds here, when they put them in, they put the cattails all around them, and they get so thick. There's ponds here that you can't even get to. They're so thick.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. You know what cattails are good for?
For fire starter and lighting fireworks off.
No, brushing out a duck blind or something. It holds up real well. Other than that, I see no use for them.
When we were younger, we used to dry them out, leave them in my dad's garage, and then the next year they would burn like cigars, and we would use them to light all our fireworks off on the 4th of July.
All right.
Mark Barnum says, a town near me has a pond, and they are going to drain it, and they have taken the limits off. Dummies, why didn't they do it before the water was not 85 degrees and the fish is mush? Right. They don't think like that.
No, they don't care.
Hi, Miss Chrissy. How you doing, dear?
Hey, Chrissy.
Now, before everybody gets kind of upset, all the ponds here drain into the Fox, and they're labeled as part of the Fox waterway drainage, so it's considered all one thing. So do with that what you want. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Benoit Fishing Outdoors says our pond fish are methane fish, runoff from farm ponds. You know you're home when you can smell them. Now, that being said, I have one pond that I actually showed in my live stream here that's right at this big park. And I've caught the bluegill don't smell bad, but I've caught crappie out of their lyle, and they smell like dying pond weeds. They smell horrible. I wouldn't keep one if you paid me.
Yeah, I have to have caught fish that smelled really bad, and I don't keep them when they smell like that either.
So you want to keep that too. And in a heavily populated area like mine, you run into the problem of people like green lawns, right, Lyle? Especially in the suburbs. So they use a lot of fertilizer, and those are all drainage ponds. So those yards drain off into those ponds eventually. That's right. If they're putting fertilizer down, whether it's a service or doing it themselves, they get overrun with weeds in the summer.
Yeah,
so
my daughter Heather has made it in. She's in the hospital having some test run. Hope she's doing better tonight.
Hi, Heather. I hope you're feeling good. We'll keep you in our prayers with everybody else for sure. I have one pond. I keep talking about this. It's got lots of bullhead in it, but the weeds, it's right next to a farm field, and on the opposite side of it is houses. So it's getting fertilizer from both sides. You know, it's getting the farm fertilizer and it's getting the home fertilizer, and the weeds are so thick you couldn't sink a 2-ounce sinker to the bottom in that pond.
Wow!
But if you get at it early enough in the year, you might be able to fish a couple holes that are opened up and get some bullheads out of it. But it used to be a lot different. It's just been a lot worse. Our buddy Ryan over at Setting Hooks and Crossing Ice kind of told me that I should take like a kayak anchor out there on a rope, toss it out 15 feet, and just clean a hole out and come back a couple days later and try it. I might have to do that, but I never really given it that much effort, but I'm sure that would work. But there's, well, bullheads are, that's good bait, and I don't live in an area where there's a lot of them, so
right.
I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it is what it is.
If I had a pond, it would have limited amount of vegetation around it or in it.
Aeration helps.
Absolutely.
Aeration helps. So if you find a pond that's got a fountain or has got a bubblers or multiple bubblers in it, those are pretty good spots. You're still going to get some growth on the outside of it probably, because they keep them out in the middle. But they definitely do help. And they also like to disturb that water to keep the mosquitoes from laying all their eggs and stuff in there. That helps as well. So but somebody's got to pay for it in these suburban ponds. It's usually an HOA, and we all know how much we love HOAs. So
yes.
No.
That's the only thing worse for mosquitoes is old tires laying around where they can get water and stuff in them and sit there, and that is really breeding ground.
I know something else that's worse than mosquitoes. Politicians.
Well, yeah, Democrats in general.
They're all bloodsuckers. Lance says,
that'll work.
2 seconds up the road, I can catch 6 to 8 inch bullheads. Well,
Pretty
I'd like
good.
to place my order, Lance, for about 24 of them bad boys.
I'd take 24 myself. Hey, Matt.
What's going on, Matt? How you doing? 922 is agreeing with me. He says, amen.
That's right.
Now, when you're scouting these places using, I don't use an avionics because these ponds don't show up on avionics.
No.
They do not. So you want to get on like Google Maps and use the Earth View and look for bodies of water. Like I say, I do live in the suburbs, but I live in what I call the exurbs. I'm on the edge. I can hit farmland with a rock from my backyard. And, farmland kind of looks like ponds. So you want to zoom in pretty close, go up and down streets that you know, and ponds that you've seen, and you can get a good look at what you're doing. You want to look for access, right? You want to look at the area. If it's got a fountain in it, there's probably an HOA. You're going to want to look for signs because there might be do not fishing signs. Like there's one pond here we used to fish a lot. We used to ice fish it, summer fish it, and the fishing over there is awesome. But for some reason, the HOA put up a bunch of signs, and there's a couple of Karens over there that are quick to call the police. So that kind of ended. So you want to keep that in mind. Keep an eye out on the for signs. If you're willing to deal with it and play the I didn't know card one time, I wouldn't advise it, but people do that. Check for stuff like that. Obviously, on Google Maps, you can look for access. You shouldn't be going through people's backyards. One thing I look for, at least here on urban ponds, a lot of them have pathways around them, like little walking paths and stuff, just like they would at a park. Things like that. You can see if the shores are rocky. That means you're going to have access. You'll be able to see if there's, nothing but cattails for 100 yards all the way around it and things like that. That'll help cut down your search. So those are some of the things that I've done in the past when I'm looking for ponds to fish. So.
And do not drive through a farmer's field. You ruin it for everyone.
If you're going to fish a private pond, make sure you have permission.
Yes, 100%.
There's a big difference between a neighborhood pond and a totally private pond. The two things, you're going to get somebody really mad. You don't know what those people are willing to do. You could get yourself shot. You could get yourself, arrested. I don't know if it's a felony or a misdemeanor. I have no idea. But you don't want that on your record, too. You can always cut some sort of deal with the person who owns the land, or just ask them. You could always post on your local Facebook page for your area and say, hey, my name's such and such. I'd like to take my grandkids fishing on I noticed there's a lot of ponds in the area. If anybody has a private pond that either needs help with management, or maybe a place I could take my grandkids fishing, some people, you never know, you might get some messages in your private DMs, and you can go from there. Those are some places I would start. So
yeah, I can't do that.
Why not?
I can't get on Facebook. I'm blocked.
No. I mean, normally.
Yeah, I can't do that at all.
Lyle is banned by the Catfishing Association for catching bass from Facebook.
That's not exactly true, but I am banned. I am blocked off of Facebook 100%. I can't sign in. Can't even create a new account.
He's not blocked. He's just got some technical difficulties. So.
I'm not sure I'm going to fix them.
See, Mark says, we have a county park here that you never worry about mosquitoes because the bats keep them in control 100%.
Yeah. Purple martins eat a lot of them too.
Yeah, we used to have a camper out in southwest Wisconsin, and they used to have bat boxes all over, like a bird box, like a bird nesting box, but for bats. And those bats kept them bugs in check. It was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my dad used to build the Purple Martin houses, and they would look like whatever house that was there. If your house was a 2-story house, he'd build a 2-story Purple Martin house with how many ever rooms that he could put in it. But you can watch them at night eat mosquitoes. You watch them dive down right before dark, and they just scarf them up. So.
And if they diving at your head, that's just because they don't know you're there until they get close enough. And once they get close enough, they usually dodge away. I still don't know anybody who's ever had a bat land on them or attack them or
I don't either.
Like that. So, anyways, that being said, Benoit Fishing Outdoors says deer flies are terrible this year out in the boonies. Yeah, deer flies suck.
They bite hard too.
Greg says, "Don't get me started." I think that's with my politician comment. 922 Crappie Barbecue Bobby says, City tried to make me take down the bat boxes on my house. They changed their mind when all the neighbors lit their phones up. See, there you go.
There you are. Yeah. 922. Yeah, maybe so, buddy.
Been banned for 5 years.
I just blocked out. I can't sign in because I got a different phone and it has a different number, and I can't sign in under the old number. So I don't really care. To be quite honest, doesn't matter.
Greg Burgess says the mosquito is the state bird down there. I believe it. They're pretty bad up in northern Wisconsin and in Minnesota too. They're horrible. They'll pick you up and carry you away.
But along the Mississippi River, there's a highway 79 that runs all the way down to St. Louis, and it's basically right next to the river. In fact, a lot of the river floods that highway floods when the river floods. And back in the days when I used to have a motorcycle, that was between that and them big black hard shell bugs riding at night, that was a mistake.
Hey, there's fish on. There's fish on Ed Evans, guys. Check out Ed Evans' channel tonight. If we got any mods in here, Matt, maybe you could post his link. He is having a 500 subscriber giveaway. He's giving away lots of good prizes. He fishes for flatheads on the Susquehanna River. I think I said that right, Lyle. Or no, the Schuylkill River. I don't know. He'll probably correct me later on his show. He's having a big old party tonight. Make sure you log in, check him out. If you're not subscribed to his channel, subscribe. Hopefully he doesn't mind me plugging that whole event, but you could win something. I already said that if I'm on there tonight and I do win, I'm going to give my prize to Joshua, and we know who Joshua is. So I look forward to being in there tonight, so you guys should be in there too. It's a long show. It's a late show, I should say. So thank you for doing that too, Ed. We appreciate you.
And there's the link.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. So go over there and check it out. Check out Ed Evans. All right. So we went through how to find them for the most part on Google Maps. Next, you're going to want to figure out what kind of fish are on there. If you're at a new pond, always bring worms with you, Lyle, right?
That's right, 100%. They'll catch every fish in the water.
Bring worms and a float, and you're pretty good. Now, a lot of people, some people have those castable sonars that they can use. A lot more people don't.
Right.
So this is something that I used to do a long time ago to find out depths of these ponds that I'm fishing, Lyle. I would put a slip float and a bell sinker, the ones that look like little bells. I don't know what the actual name is of those, but I think that's what they're called. And I wouldn't put any stopper on my line, and I would cast to where I was going to fish, wait for the bobber to hit, or the weight to hit the bottom, right? And slowly pull the line taut, watch where the tip of my rod is, and then lift it up until the weight hit the slip float. And then I could look at, how high I had to lift my rod tip up, let's say 4 feet. I knew it was 4 feet there. I'd pull it in. I'd know it was 3 feet, so I know it was gradual. Or if I went, if it went like from 4 feet to 2 feet or to 1 feet, I knew that's where there was a ledge. Things like that will help you out a lot when you're fishing ponds. Because I'm going to say the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to float fish it. You're going to want to get a bobber over there. And the closer you can get to the top of the weeds or the bottom, if it's a rocky bottom, also that trick when you're dragging that weight along the bottom will tell you what kind of bottom you're on. It is a great tip for you guys to know, because
especially if you're using a graphite rod, you can really feel the bottom with graphite.
Yep, graphite rod and braid, you can tell what's down there, especially if you got a weight dragging across it. So that's the easiest way to do it. Put a little snap swivel on the end of that line. You can change it out to a hook or a crankbait or a twister tail, whatever, or even an inline spinner. That's another bait that works great in ponds.
Great, yeah. Beetle
spins, anything like that you can keep the bait like submerged right off the bottom or right over the top of weeds. You're gonna be golden. But like we were saying, always go with worms. Float some worms over the top of whatever you want to fish, and you're gonna do good. But you'll do even better if you know how deep to set it. So there's definitely an advantage to that.
There is.
After worms, like I said, I would go with like if I'm fishing in an area where there's not a lot of weeds, or I can figure out how deep the weeds are, a drop shot, definitely. And then also any artificial baits you can keep suspended off the bottom or off the top of the weeds, like an inline spinner or a twister tail or a beetle spin, things like that. You're going to get bit by whatever's in that pond. And it's usually, at least in my neck of the woods, it's usually bass and panfish.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Bass and panfish and a lot of these ones, which are all fun to catch. Every now and then they'll have some carp in there, or they'll have some catfish in there. None of these ponds over here have carp. A lot of the ones closer to my parents' house, which is, I don't know, maybe 20 miles east of here, some of them have carp in them. Some of them have grass carp. If you're fishing a subdivision pond and you happen to catch a grass carp, make sure you put, I don't know why you would keep it, but put it there. Chances are somebody paid a lot of money for that grass carp to be in there to clean it, because that's exactly what they're used for. So
yep.
Mark, can we rewind and repeat, please? I got lost in translation. All right, Matt. You get a slip float, right, with no stoppers, 0 stoppers. So that pretty much that float would slide all the way to the tip of your rod if you could, and all the way to the hook. You put a bell sinker on the bottom of your line, cast it out to where you want to fish, and once it hits the bottom, tighten up the line, right, and keep your tip your rod parallel with the water, and then you lift it until that bell sinker hits the bottom of that slip float, and you got an idea by looking at your rod, kind of, you can estimate how deep it is.
Unless it's really deep.
Unless it's really deep, yeah. But I don't have any ponds that are that deep here. The deepest they get is 4 feet around here. There's a couple of 6-foot holes, but other than that, it's not real deep. So that's what I've done in the past. Matt says them grass carp are usually in pairs. Yep.
Most of the time.
All right. I think he understands that too. I saw Matt posted a picture of a walleye he caught, or at least half a walleye he caught. I think he had a hard time taking that picture. And I'm no one to criticize, because I take some of the worst pictures in the world. Speaking of photos, Lyle, why don't we take a real quick break and show some of these photos?
Let's do that.
Let me get them loaded up here. Then we'll share the screen out here. All right, and no particular order. I just want to scroll to the end here. Let me share these out. Present. Share screen. There we go. These are some of the channel cats I caught from last week's stream. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you saw them. Nothing big, but they are in my freezer, so I was pretty happy about that. And this is what Lyle caught today. Look at that. Isn't that thing beautiful?
Yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's from yesterday? A beautiful fish from yesterday. I want to make sure that Josh sees that.
Oh,
Chad,
thank
if
you
he's
so
watching.
much.
There's another one.
That's the second one, yeah.
The two of them, right? Oh, there's a little channel cat with the juvenile spots.
I've never caught so many channel cat off of jigs as I have this year.
Channel cats, channel cats will pretty much hit anything. That's why they're American catfish. I don't care. You know, there's a lot of hate in the community for channel cats. They call them channel rats, this and that. I mean, exactly. They're there to fish. They're everywhere in this country. A lot of people, that's what they have to catch. If you're pond fishing, chances are, if there's any catfish in there, they're channel cats, or bullhead, obviously, and they taste delicious. I don't care what anyone is.
Matt, I did not get a message from you that I can find.
Let me see if I got any messages. I got a message from somebody. Let's see. Nope, no messages from Matt. So
one thing I trying to determine, and I don't know if we touched on this or not earlier. I don't remember. What size do you consider a pond, and what size is bigger than a pond?
Like I said, anything, bigger than a ditch. I've got them up to like 6 acres here. Anything without like a public dock, right? Because they can have private docks on them if people live on them, and most of them here don't. And no boat ramp, no access for.
Can't have a boat ramp. No.
And a lot of these places you can't even have a kayak on them over here. So that would make life way too easy. Might even consider getting another one. Lyle, meet me at Reelfoot Lake. You'll get sick of catching channels on a jig.
No, I won't.
Danny, thanks for the invite, bud.
Do not threaten me with a good time, Danny Stone. Caught a walleye last year at the spot I've been trying to fish, but it's flooded out. Man, that's too bad. Yeah, they are 922. They are really, really fun to catch, and they're great eating. And if they're, like the couple I caught, they are excellent whole. Don't try to fillet them. Just gut them, skin them, fry them whole. The bones in them are big, so you don't have to worry about that. If you get a bone in you on a catfish, you're doing something wrong eating it.
My favorite way, and I've been, you can buy those fillet washers that you've sent me a link to that you've wanted to get, Lyle. It's a bucket with a hose connector on it, and it kind of spins the fish around and around and around with fresh water. But you can do it a different way. Let's say thank you to Joe Buck real quick. He's been a member
31 months. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. But the way you clean a channel cat's real important. If you have any red on your channel cat meat, it's going to taste muddy, gamey. Yep. You'll notice a lot of times channel cat's got a little yellow tinge to some of the meat, Lyle. That's fat.
Yes, it is.
And fat in fish is water soluble, which is why those fillet washers work. But you don't need to buy one. What I do is, I've said this time and time again, but I'm a firm believer in this, is I'll rinse them in a glass bowl until the water runs clean. And then once it runs clean, I fill it up. Obviously, you use cold water. I fill the bowl up, and I just leave the water on a trickle, and I let that water trickle for about a half an hour through there, spilling over the side. Make sure that your fillets don't wash out down into the garbage disposal. Ask me how I know about that. I've done that before, and that'll turn those fillets paper white, and then you can season them however you like them. Some people like them to taste a little more gamier or fishier. Do you? But I can't get my wife to eat anything unless I rinse those fillets really well. Also, when you're filleting them, don't be afraid to leave a tiny bit of, like an eighth of an inch on the skin when you go to peel it off, or when you go to cut it off, because you'll notice there's a lot less red meat when you do. So take that with a grain of salt. Obviously,
Mark, I soak every fish that I keep in salt water overnight before I cook them, and rinse them off really good, and they're snow white. Just you know.
Yep, that's when you know you got. That's when you know you got them clean. They'll actually firm up too, like with Matt. Matt says he soaks his in ice water. That'll get them nice and firm too, ready for the firing. And one thing though is I will say if they're ice cold, depending on what you're frying them with, you know, if your fish, if your breading is getting too brown, that means the fish is too cold. Don't be afraid to leave the fish on the counter and get, you know, for 20 minutes or so, cover them with a paper towel, keep those dang flies off of them. And once they get a little warmer, you'll get that balance and it'll cook more even with your breading or your batter or whatever. And you'll have a better looking, better tasting cooked fillet. So there's my tip for the day as far as cooking them. So.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Danny says, okay, Mark, Real Foot Lake near Tipton, Tennessee, slab crappie, big bluegill. And like I said, so many channel catch. They set the limit to 150 a day. My goodness.
Wow.
I would not want to fillet 150 channel catch.
I don't want to fillet 150 anything. I don't care what it is.
James Dockery would probably go through them like it was nothing.
Yeah, but he probably does that many a week.
He would go through 150 channel cats with a regular knife like it was nothing, not even bat an eye. But me, not so much. I'm lucky if I get both sides of the fillet. So
I wasn't going to say that.
I was waiting for you. I figured I'd cut you off at the path, at the pass.
That was several years ago now.
Yep. Another thing that I kind of deal with when I'm pond fishing, especially bait fishing, if I want to keep, let's say, bluegills or bullheads or matter of fact, you know, keeping it, you know, it's legal to take it, but if you want to keep from getting any grief from people, put them in a bucket on the down low. Ask me how I know about that after the show. I'll tell you all about it. Either that or another good way is sit on that bucket and kind of drop them down in there when no one's looking and you're good to go. I know that seems kind of shady, but if they're legal to take, they're legal to take. I'm just telling you what to do to keep from getting grief from the people that are around you. And usually if you're fishing a popular public pond, there's an awful lot of them too. So
Matt, you're the second person that has sent that to me today. Just so you know.
I have no idea what that means.
I'll show you later.
I think he sent it to me.
Oh.
Oh, no, he sent something else. Anyway.
Have you been catching any walleye, Mark?
I haven't really had a chance to try. I'm trying to get out, you know, well, lately I've been really busy taking care of my mom and stuff. So I've been trying to get out once a week to fish. This week I'm going to try and get out twice because I'm going to do a little pond fishing. And, you know, the flatheads are just starting to come off spawn from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing on social media as well here. So the plan is to get back out on the flatheads next week. So I've been doing some pond fishing. I did channel cat fishing last week, trying to mix it up a little bit. So, this time of year, I haven't walleye fished. I've done the exact same thing every year. I treat my fishing seasons just like people treat their hunting seasons. So that's what I've been doing, which is good. And today I was kind of wanting to really concentrate on finding bullheads and other spots so I don't have to drive 40 minutes. But I think tomorrow morning I'm going to make the 40-minute drive if I can get to bed here early and we'll get out there. So.
Are you going to the question I really have is, does your water over there in your little river, does it have current? With all the rain we've had this year, I'd have
the rain we've been having, and we got rain coming again this whole weekend. The current's been there. One thing that, you know, over time, and I forget this, I do this every year. After a big storm, it doesn't pay to go out because it washes all the weeds up and washes them down the river, and it makes it almost impossible to fish. Right. If you look at like my stream, like 2 streams ago, I was getting so much cabbage on my lines, it was ridiculous. I mean, if you'd have floated a bait over there that And I showed it on my stream how much stuff was coming down the river on my sonar. I was in like 10 feet of water. I was over a little deeper hole, and it was incredible. It was bad. So we'll see what it is. I'm going to give it a day after it rains next week. Maybe get out on Tuesday or Thursday next week and spend the night out there and see if we can't put a few flatheads in the boat. So we're definitely going to try that. I'm going to also put out a little more cut bait and see what happens. I might take a walk over to the dam here in Algonquin and see if there's shadow running yet. Usually not till August, so end of August, but you never know.
It's hard to say if they have a dam there.
Yeah, there's a low head dam that, a spillway right there. One of the guys that we know that catches a lot of flathead, he fishes right over there quite a bit. I just don't feel like making the 8 mile, or actually that's more like 12-mile ride back to my boat ramp when it's pitch dark out there. So I don't fish that section too often. So
I can understand that. Maybe you just get you a slip over there. You can
as soon as you pay for it, I'll have one.
I always figured you had 2 or 3 of them in different areas on that river.
Yeah, that's it. Matt says, Mark, do your conservationists put seed for most of the greenery? I'm not sure what that means, man.
I'm sure they do not.
Not sure what that means. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I forgot. Lyle, can you think anything else when we're talking ponds?
Not really. The big thing with me is where we touched on a while ago. Get permission, don't trespass, and pick up your trash when you're done.
No, that absolutely, because I'm, and I'm always finding like empty worm containers and stuff like that. I'll pick them up and take them back with me.
Yep.
And it takes nothing. I back my truck up to the garage when I get home every day, whether I'm fishing or grocery shopping, whatever it is. It's just the way I park. It's nothing for me to pick up that stuff and throw it right in the garbage can when I get home.
I keep Walmart bags with me for that reason.
Mm-hmm. And that also being said, don't look down on pond fishing. I don't know if you guys know this, but and I don't know what you think of him, but he's successful. John B on YouTube. John B lived in this area. His parents still live in this area, not far from my house, and he got his start. He started his channel pond fishing 100%, and look at the empire he's built there too. So there's definitely a lot of action to be found on ponds, and you can definitely make a name for yourself doing so. You just got to know where to look and how to go about attacking them. And for the most part, I think we did a good job covering it. So,
yep, I think so too. And if you get access to a private pond, take care of that. Send the guy Christmas cards. Better yet, take him something. It might not be more than a box of candy or a gift certificate to a store somewhere. Don't lose out on them places. Do things that other people overlook.
If you're driving by the place you want to fish on garbage day and you see that recycling bin's full of empty Bush lattes, that might be your way in too.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So
I like the Bush Light latte.
Use your noggin and you can get places to fish, plain and simple.
That's right. We used to have a duck lease on an irrigation lake in the middle of a cornfield 7 miles from a game refuge. And we'd take that guy, big old ham, and he had his own hogs and cattle, and he's a big farm. But he appreciated it. And we would go get a good one, split the cost up amongst the 4 of us that was in the lease. And, I don't know how much difference it made, but he was always friendly and nice and cordial if we needed something, if somebody's truck was having problems going up or not, or if we built a floating duck blind one time to put on this pond instead of the old junker that was on there when I got involved in it. And he brought his tractor down there and helped us unload it, set it in the pond. And, just be very nice to those people that are taking care of you. It's a big deal to them.
Yep. It's
and
100%.
never leave trash.
You know, and I don't know how else to say it, but think about how things were a long time ago. We're not talking back when me and Lyle were born, because that was a real long time ago. I'm talking about the good old days when neighbors were neighborly. Try to be as neighborly as possible.
That's right.
You know, be kind and
It'll go a long way.
Friendly, and it definitely goes a long way. You know, I heard somebody talking about how deals are made, especially with land. Let's say your neighbor, you want to buy 50 acres of your neighbor's land, right, Lyle? Right. And you guys are friends. You guys get together. You have a couple cocktails, right? You say, hey, Lyle, I want to buy 50 acres of your land that you're not using. We come to a deal over a couple of drinks. Now, if me and let's say somebody I don't like, our neighbors, and I want to buy 50 acres of land, and I go walk up to the door, ring the doorbell, and I say, hey, I want to buy this 50 acres that you're not using. He may say, talk to my lawyer. You end up spending a whole bunch of legal fees, and you might get it done after 5 years. You catch more flies with honey, Lyle. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go, right here, Mark. Be decent, receive decency. Very true words.
On that note, Lyle,
everybody have a great show, Mark.
I had a good time. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in and watching. We appreciate you. And for you, those of you out there watching in podcast land, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. If you guys get asked to rate the podcast, please give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. It goes a long way.
It absolutely does. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye.